After the nuclear meltdown at Chernobyl, scientists expected a lifeless exclusion zone, but instead, they found something strange. Certain plants weren't just surviving, they were thriving in radioactive soil. It wasn't an isolated case. Years later, at Fukushima, the same pattern emerged. A few species didn't wither under fallout. They absorbed toxins, stabilized the ground, and in some cases, kept producing food. This isn't science fiction. These plants exist. They're growing today. And in a future where nuclear accidents, conflict, or fallout zones are no longer unthinkable, they could become your most important allies. These are 15 of the toughest, most resilient plants on Earth, used for healing, nourishment, shelter, and even radiation cleanup. And whether you're building a survival garden or just learning what grows when everything else fails, these are the plants you'd want to know before disaster ever strikes. Hopefully, you'll never need them, but if you do, you'll be glad you knew what to look for and what to plant. We begin with one of the most famous cases where a plant was used to clean up nuclear contamination. In 1994, scientists deployed sunflower rafts on radioactive ponds near Chernobyl. The results were remarkable. In just 10 days, the plants absorbed up to 95% of cesium-137 and strontium-90 from the water. Sunflowers thrive in contaminated zones because they're hyperaccumulators, plants that absorb large volumes of nutrients from soil and water. Radioactive elements like cesium and strontium masquerade as essential nutrients, allowing the plant to take them up just as easily as potassium and calcium. But there's an important catch. Sunflowers used for cleanup should never be consumed. They store radiation inside their tissues. In a survival context, you'd grow 2 sets, one to heal the land and one to feed your family. And as a food source, they're incredibly versatile. Sunflower seeds are packed with protein and healthy fats, store well for years, and can be turned into oil or flour. The young leaves can be cooked like spinach, and the unopened flower buds are edible too, prepared like artichokes. The Fukushima disaster offered another crucial lesson. Variety and timing matter. After the meltdown, over 200,000 sunflowers were planted across contaminated zones, but the wrong genotypes were used, and they were planted too early before the radiation had bound to the soil. The cleanup failed, not because sunflowers don't work, but because execution matters. Hardy, fast-growing, and drought-tolerant, sunflowers grow in nearly every zone and stabilize even the harshest soils. In the aftermath of catastrophe, this bright yellow flower may be one of the smartest things you could plant. It's been called the vine that ate the South, but in a post-disaster world, kudzu's wild growth might just save you. This fast-growing vine has been shown to tolerate extreme contamination, including heavy metals like nickel, chromium, and manganese. One phytoremediation study out of Taiwan identified kudzu as a viable candidate for extracting toxic metals from soil, exactly the kind of contamination you'd face after a nuclear event. Its value doesn't stop at soil cleanup. Kudzu is a full-spectrum survival crop. The roots are loaded with starch and can be cooked like potatoes or processed into flour. The young leaves are high in protein, more than most leafy greens. You can eat the vine tips and even the flowers, which taste surprisingly like grape jelly. And because it grows so aggressively, you can harvest it continuously without risking collapse. Its deep roots, over 3 meters down, let it tap into water during droughts, and it grows in places other plants fail. Nutrient-poor soil, contaminated ground, steep slopes. After a disaster, it colonizes chaos. We've seen this before. During the Dust Bowl, the U.S. government planted over 70 million kudzu seedlings across dead farmland. Entire hillsides went from bare to green in a single season, thanks to this vine. In a nuclear fallout zone, it could do the same, restoring soil, providing calories, and reestablishing life. In any other context, kudzu is a nuisance, but in the aftermath of nuclear fallout, this fast-growing vine turns into a reliable source of food, medicine, and environmental repair. It looks like something you'd find on a Mardi Gras float, but Cockscomb has earned its place on the survival shortlist. Why? Because almost nothing kills it, and few plants grow this fast, this reliably, in contaminated ground. Cockscomb thrives where most crops fail. It grows in metal-polluted soils, tolerates drought, shrugs off heat, and matures in just 90 days. Even under stress, it produces high yields and reseeds itself effortlessly. Once it's in the soil, it tends to stay, spreading year after year with almost no maintenance. As mentioned earlier with sunflowers, Buddhist monks also included Cockscomb in their post-Fukushima planting efforts. While some selections missed the mark, Cockscomb's resilience helped it flourish in zones others couldn't reclaim. But here's the shocker. This ornamental flower is also one of the most nutritious survival foods on Earth. Its leaves can hit 30% crude protein in dry matter, more than spinach, more than kale, more than most legumes. Iron content is 10 times that of ordinary spinach, and it brings serious levels of calcium, vitamin A, and antioxidants. Everything above ground is edible: leaves, stems, flowers. It's already a staple across parts of West Africa, where it's used in soups and stews. And with 43,000 seeds per ounce, you'll never run out. So yes, it looks like a rooster's haircut. But in a nuclear fallout scenario, Cockscomb is a soil-scrubbing, protein-packed, heat-defying workhorse that just keeps coming back. In a world where surface contamination could make traditional crops useless, Jerusalem artichokes offer one critical advantage. You don't eat the part that's exposed. This rugged sunflower relative stores its nutrients underground, in dense, starchy tubers that sit safely 4 to 6 inches below the surface. After Chernobyl, studies showed the plant tolerated significant radiation and heavy metal exposure while keeping contaminants out of the edible parts. That's survival gold. But it gets better. Jerusalem artichokes are loaded with inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds healthy gut bacteria and helps stabilize blood sugar. They also pack potassium, iron, and a modest amount of protein. They're especially valuable in survival diets because they store so well, regrow easily, and provide reliable calories even in cold climates. During World War II, Jewish families hiding in the French countryside survived entire winters on Jerusalem artichokes and sugar beets. Native American tribes once planted them along migration routes because they knew the tubers would regrow year after year without replanting. Once established, this plant becomes nearly impossible to wipe out. A single tuber fragment can regenerate an entire patch. Each plant produces up to 200 tubers per season, and the crop tolerates freezing temperatures down to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. It grows in poor soil, spreads aggressively, and keeps producing long after more delicate vegetables fail. In the aftermath of a nuclear event, that kind of resilience isn't just useful, it's essential. In a nuclear disaster zone, rebuilding starts with something, anything, that can grow in poisoned ground. The tree of heaven does that better than almost any tree on Earth. It can survive in soil saturated with cadmium and chromium, two heavy metals often released during industrial explosions and reactor meltdowns. It even tolerates hexavalent chromium, a highly toxic chemical compound linked to cancer and groundwater contamination. These are the kind of pollutants that linger for decades. Most trees die in it. This one pulls through. It's no surprise the USDA once called it the most pollution-tolerant tree available. But resilience comes at a cost. The sap is toxic and can cause skin rashes or even heart-related symptoms if it gets into open wounds. It's also invasive. Once rooted, it spreads aggressively through underground suckers and wind-scattered seeds, more than 300,000 per year from a single tree. Still, it has its place. Tree of Heaven grows in scorched soil, compacted rubble, and chemical spill zones where nothing else will. It's one of the fastest growing trees in North America, shooting up 6 feet per year and forming dense canopies within a decade. Traditional Chinese medicine used it to treat dysentery, asthma, and internal parasites, and modern studies suggest it has antiviral and anti-tumor properties as well. If you're trying to bring dead land back to life, this tree might be your first step, but it won't feed you or heal your wounds. That's where the next plant earns its name. You've probably seen it growing between sidewalk cracks or in hard-packed gravel, and in fact, we've covered this one in a recent episode. But in the aftermath of a nuclear disaster, plantain moves from underrated weed to frontline survival asset. This unassuming herb has been found growing in soil contaminated with up to 1,400 times normal radiation levels, including uranium hotspots in eastern Russia. Scientists discovered that plantain not only tolerates this environment, it helps clean it up. Its roots trap radioactive metals and pesticides in the soil, stopping them from spreading further. But its real value is personal. Plantain heals. Clinical trials on diabetic ulcers showed a dramatic acceleration in recovery, up to 87% wound reduction in just 2 weeks. It's loaded with bioactive compounds that fight bacteria, reduce swelling, and trigger new skin growth. In a post-nuclear disaster world, this plant becomes your first aid kit. It's also complete survival nutrition. The leaves contain vitamin C, calcium, iron, potassium, and up to 46% polyunsaturated fatty acids. That's comparable to levels found in flaxseed and sunflower oil, except plantain grows wild and needs no processing. It's a true pioneer species. One plant can produce 15,000 seeds that remain viable for 60 years. It grows in poor soil, tolerates foot traffic, and needs almost no care. Plantain is found on every continent except Antarctica, quietly taking hold in fields, roadsides, and crisis zones, and given its centuries of use, it's likely to keep doing so long into the future. We featured this plant in our video on edible weeds that are actually superfoods, but in a post-nuclear survival scenario, Amaranth becomes even more essential. Indigenous communities once cultivated it across the Americas, but after the Spanish conquest, Amaranth was banned. Hernán Cortés even ordered that anyone growing it could have their hands cut off, and yet it survived. For over 400 years, indigenous farmers secretly passed down seeds in remote villages, preserving its legacy through centuries of persecution. Why risk so much? Because amaranth isn't just a grain, it's a complete survival package. Its seeds contain all 9 essential amino acids. A single serving can meet over 150% of your daily lysine needs, along with iron, calcium, fiber, and slow-burning carbs. The leaves are edible too, with protein levels that rival legumes. That's a lot of survival power packed into a very small plant, so much in so little. That's why global food agencies, including UNESCO, have flagged amaranth as a key crop for food security, especially in regions facing climate stress or poor soil conditions. And it holds up under radiation. In one lab study, animals given daily doses of amaranth extract showed reduced damage from gamma exposure, a sign of its potential as a radioprotective food. Resilient, nourishing, and steeped in history, amaranth may be the best survival plant we've covered so far, especially if you're planting for a future after nuclear fallout. But even the most powerful grains can't do what the next plant does: defend your body from the inside out. In a world where your immune system is your last defense, wild garlic might be your strongest ally. Found in damp, shaded forest across Europe and North America, wild garlic has a long history as a medicinal plant, but what makes it especially valuable in a post-nuclear world is how it responds to radiation. Studies on its close relatives, like Allium cepa, onion, show an unusual resistance to radiation damage. In experiments simulating gamma radiation exposure, these plants didn't just survive, they sometimes grew better. Their root systems responded with enhanced growth and increased DNA repair, suggesting a built-in defense system that activates under stress. And what's happening underground is just the beginning. Wild garlic contains potent sulfur compounds that have antiviral, antifungal, and antibacterial properties. These compounds boost immune function, reduce inflammation, and help the body eliminate toxins, critical benefits when living in a contaminated environment. Historically, wild garlic was carried in people's pockets during the 1918 flu pandemic. The Romans called it herba salutaris, or the healing herb, and modern research backs up those beliefs, linking it to respiratory health, circulation, and heavy metal detox. It's also shade-tolerant, frost-hardy, and spreads aggressively by rhizome, ideal traits when planting in disrupted ecosystems. Once established, it returns every year without help. When radiation breaks down your body's defenses, wild garlic could be what keeps your system standing. It's low to the ground, easy to miss, and possibly the most underrated survival food on Earth. But now you know what to look for. Purslane grows almost everywhere. You'll find it in sidewalks, vacant lots, fields, and scorched soil. It's classified as a pioneer species for a reason. It colonizes disturbed land fast, grows without care, and comes loaded with survival advantages. For one, it tolerates serious contamination. Studies show purslane absorbs toxic metals like cadmium, chromium, and arsenic while maintaining high antioxidant levels to protect itself. It's even been shown to grow in industrial spill zones while still producing edible leaves. And those leaves? Nutritional gold. Purslane contains more omega-3 fatty acids than any other leafy green, up to 400 milligrams per 100 grams. That's 15 times more than lettuce, and comparable to flaxseed. It also delivers vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, magnesium, and potassium, all packed into a crunchy, lemon-flavored plant you can eat raw. It's not just nutritious, it's fast. Purslane germinates in a week, matures in 6, and drops up to 240,000 seeds per plant, with seed viability lasting 5 to 40 years. In hot zones or fallout areas, it spreads like wildfire, no irrigation needed. During nuclear recovery, speed matters, nutrition matters, and plants that grow on their own without breaking down under pressure, those are rare. Purslane might be small, but it punches way above its weight. In a post-disaster world, when you need food, shade, and even fabric from a single source, mulberry trees step up. They're fast-growing, productive, and surprisingly tough. While not typically labeled as radiation survivors, mulberries were among the few deciduous trees that re-sprouted within 2 kilometers of the Hiroshima blast. Modern research shows they maintained strong antioxidant systems and cellular repair mechanisms, which helps explain their ability to recover from radiation exposure. But their survival value goes far beyond that. A mature tree can produce over 880 pounds of fruit and another 440 pounds of edible leaves every year. The berries are rich in vitamin C, potassium, iron, and a full spectrum of amino acids, comparable to what you'd find in fish or milk. The leaves can be eaten fresh, cooked, or dried for tea. And there's more. Mulberries are the exclusive food source for silkworms. In a long-term survival scenario, that means access to silk for clothing, cordage, or even surgical thread. One cocoon holds more than a mile of filament. Like many of the best survival species we've covered in this video, mulberries thrive where other crops fail. They tolerate drought, wind, poor soil, and extreme cold down to minus 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Once established, they'll keep producing for decades, reaching maturity within 5 to 10 years and living well beyond 75. In a recovery phase that could stretch for years, few trees offer this much: calories, materials, and the resilience to keep going when everything else falls short. But not every survivor in a nuclear fallout zone is a tree. Some are weeds, tough, relentless, and bursting through the cracks when nothing else will. Like the next one. It's been sprayed, stepped on, and pulled out of gardens for decades. But in a post-nuclear world, dandelion might be one of your best allies. Like plantain and purslane, dandelion has shown remarkable adaptability to radiation-heavy environments. Long-term studies from exclusion zones like Chernobyl and the East Ural radioactive trace reveal that dandelions not only survive, they adapt. Over time, they develop deeper roots, stronger antioxidant defenses, and continue reproducing in soil saturated with cesium-137 and strontium-90, two of the most dangerous radioactive elements left behind after a nuclear disaster. But resilience is just the beginning. Dandelion is a nutritional powerhouse. Young leaves are packed with vitamins A, C, and K. The roots can be dried and brewed into a coffee-like drink that supports liver function. Even the flowers are edible.
I'm gonna swallow it.
Used in syrups, teas, and traditional tonics. It's one of the few plants that doesn't care what soil it's in, acidic, compacted, depleted. It takes root, spreads fast, and holds its ground. A single plant can launch up to 5,000 wind-borne seeds, and even a tiny root fragment can grow back. Its deep taproots also help stabilize loose or damaged ground. Like many of the wild plants we've featured in past episodes, dandelion has been used for centuries in traditional medicine as a digestive aid, detoxifier, and natural anti-inflammatory. In post-disaster zones, those same traits become critical for survival. When you need shelter, structure, and strength, but the supply chain no longer exists, bamboo becomes indispensable. It's one of the fastest growing plants in the world, with some species capable of shooting up 3 feet in a single day. In survival terms, that means renewable material for housing, fencing, tools, and even clean burning fuel, often ready to harvest in less than 2 months. But can it handle radiation? Surprisingly, yes. After Fukushima, bamboo was documented growing in contaminated areas with high levels of radiocesium, and Indian studies found that bamboo's antioxidant-rich structure helps it withstand extreme gamma radiation without breaking down, making it one of the few building materials that can grow in post-fallout zones. Structurally, it's a marvel. Bamboo has a tensile strength close to steel and compressive strength double that of concrete. It's fire-resistant, flexible, and incredibly lightweight, ideal for fast shelters or rebuilding damaged homes. In survival conditions, it can also be split for water pipes, traps, or tools. It's nutrient-dense too. Bamboo shoots contain protein, fiber, essential amino acids, and minerals like potassium and manganese. In regions where fresh food is scarce, young shoots can provide a clean, low-fat source of calories. Bamboo spreads rapidly, requires no replanting, and thrives in acidic, rocky, and, as we've seen today, even contaminated soils. When rebuilding after collapse, it offers something few plants can: infrastructure. Just be mindful, bamboo grows fast and aggressively, so it's best planted where it won't take over your entire garden. In a nuclear survival situation, food isn't your only challenge. You'll also need natural ways to fight infection, preserve what you harvest, and stay clean, especially when modern systems are gone. That's where wild mint comes in. Found across nearly every continent, wild mint has been documented growing in areas with heavy industrial contamination, including soils rich in cadmium, lead, and copper. It not only survives these conditions, but often responds by producing more essential oils and antioxidants, giving it even stronger medicinal properties under stress. Its core compounds, menthol, menthone, and 1,8-cineol, are natural antibacterials and antifungals. In lab tests, mint extracts have inhibited dangerous pathogens like E. coli, Salmonella, and Streptococcus. And in survival settings, that's a big deal. Mint can be used to make antiseptic rinses, sinus steam treatments, and digestive tonics, all from fresh leaves. But its power doesn't stop at medicine. Wild mint is also a natural food preserver. Its essential oils have been shown to extend the shelf life of fish, prevent bacterial growth on produce, and even deter grain pests when used in storage. Like many of the survival plants we've seen in this video, wild mint spreads fast. It grows aggressively through underground rhizomes, taking over poor, acidic, or even contaminated soils. Once planted, it tends to stay. So if you're growing it at home, keep it in a container, unless you want to be giving away mint to friends, neighbors, and probably everyone you know. It stings, it spreads, and it's been feeding and clothing people since the Bronze Age. Stinging nettle might be the most complete survival plant you can grow. It thrives in metal-contaminated soil, endures harsh climates, and delivers protein levels comparable to meat. During World War II and the Dutch hunger winter, nettle became a staple food across Europe, harvested not just for survival, but because it worked. In nuclear fallout zones, its value only increases. Studies show nettle helps reduce soil contamination by absorbing heavy metals like cadmium, lead, and copper. While it draws these into its roots and stems, the young shoots often remain edible, especially when harvested from cleaner soil patches nearby. And those shoots? Packed with nutrients. Nettle delivers 33% protein by dry weight, plus vitamin A, vitamin K, calcium, iron, and a full spectrum of B vitamins. It supports liver health, reduces inflammation, and even boosts energy, traits that matter when medical care is scarce. But it doesn't stop at food. Nettle fibers have been used to make textiles for over 3,000 years. Germany even used nettle-based cloth for military uniforms in World War I. The stalks are durable, insulative, and surprisingly soft once processed, offering clothing and cordage in a world without stores. Yes, as its name suggests, it stings, but a quick boil neutralizes the hairs, turning a painful weed into one of the most useful plants you could have in a crisis. Like the stinging nettle before it, this plant will punish you if you grab it wrong, but once you learn how to handle it, it gives you more than most crops ever could. Last but definitely not least on today's video, the wild rose. This hardy thorn-covered shrub is built for survival. It tolerates extreme cold, down to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, grows in poor, rocky, or salt-damaged soils, and spreads with little to no help. In post-disaster zones, that means reliable regrowth even when most crops fail. But the real prize? The hips. These small, red, berry-like fruits are among the richest natural sources of vitamin C on Earth, up to 1,250 milligrams per 100 grams in optimal conditions. That's about 20 times more than oranges and over 1,300% of your daily value in just a handful. They also contain vitamin A, vitamin E, potassium, iron, fiber, and powerful antioxidants. During World War II, wild rose hips were turned into syrup in the UK to fight scurvy when citrus imports stopped. That same resilience makes them perfect for a world where supply chains are gone and immunity is everything. The plant doubles as a natural barrier. Its dense, thorny growth forms thick defensive hedges while producing high yields with minimal care. It spreads through suckers and bird-dispersed seeds, filling space quickly and securely. It may be thorny, rugged, and slow to earn your trust, but once established, wild rose protects, nourishes, and persists. In a world where soft crops fail and fragile systems collapse, this is beauty that survives. Surviving a nuclear disaster isn't just about what you store, it's about what you can grow. Many of the plants in this list are fast-acting colonizers, but some, like mulberry, bamboo, or wild rose, take years to reach full strength. That's why experts recommend planting key species early before disaster ever strikes. Choose varieties suited to your climate, spread them across different soil types, and keep a diverse seed stock on hand. And it's not just about planting. Learn how to process these plants for food, medicine, and materials. Understand how they interact with contaminated soil. Build knowledge now while you can. These 15 plants offer more than just calories. They've survived radiation zones, wartime famine, and environmental collapse, cleaning soil, healing bodies, and rebuilding ecosystems when nothing else could. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you care about. Whether you're building a resilient garden or just learning what survives when everything else breaks down, this knowledge could make all the difference. This is Stellar Eureka, signing off.